Hi, welcome to my views and news. Viewers, the military operation in the Amhara region is ongoing. Can the conflict in the Amhara region turn into ethnic conflict? After TPLF was sidelined from Addis Ababa, it was restricted to Mekelle, and then war broke out. Then TPLF agreed to make compromises. After this 2-year long episode, we saw start of rivalry for power between Amhara and Oromo leaders. I won't say people, because people are not part of this power struggle. They are the victims. Whether they are Tigrayans, Oromos, Amharas, they are just there to be affected by these conflicts, by this power struggle. It seems that what is happening in the Amhara region is going to turn into larger ethnic conflict between two major ethnic groups of Ethiopia, Oromos and Amharas. Why am I saying this? Some developments have happened in the past few days which indicate that we could see bitterness and more rivalry between the leaders of these two ethnic groups in coming days. Fano fighters from day one, since the start of military operation, have been claiming that the military's Oromo army, they say Burhanu Jula's Oromo army is killing people, killing Fano fighters. They're not saying national army. So their narrative from day one is that basically Oromo army is killing Amharas. From the other side, from Oromia side, we have not seen any meaningful attempt and effort to call for dialogue in the Amhara region. I have not seen a single statement so far from some major players, politicians based in Oromia who are from Oromos, calling for discussions to resolve the conflict in the Amhara region. When Tigray war broke out, I remember in 2020, back then some groups opposed the war. I think people like Java did not back the war, and some others too. There were some groups who were opposing the war in Tigray. Ola became Tigray's partner. But now we are seeing complete silence in the Oromia region. Have you heard any statement from Oromo Liberation Army condemning military operation in Amhara, calling for restraint and dialogue? No. Any statement from Oromia regional government calling for dialogue and putting an end to military operation? No. Oromia government used the term Javisa for Fano fighters. No call for dialogue. What about opposition parties? Oromo Federalist Congress of Murera Godina, Jawar, Bekele Garba, Oromo Liberation Front of Dawood Ibsa. Did they say anything? Did they condemn military operation? Did they call for dialogue? 2 days ago, Oromo Federalist Congress issued a statement, Jawar Bekele Garba party, led by Professor Murera Godina. It was this party's first statement in several weeks. The statement only mentioned that atrocities were being committed against Oromos by security forces in Oromia. People who are allegedly supporters of Ola, they are being targeted. OFC did not say a single word about the situation in the Amhara region of Ethiopia. It did not condemn military operation. It did not call for dialogue. So there is complete silence. This divide between Oromo, Amhara groups is going to widen. Why? Because 2 days ago, when the Parliament's House of Representatives met to approve state of emergency proclamation, again we saw similar divide. Those members of parliament who opposed the state of emergency or who abstained from voting, most of them are Amharas. Did you hear any Oromo member of parliament condemn the military operation in the Amhara region? Did you hear from any Oromo member of parliament from PP or from some other party calling for dialogue, that military operation is not a solution? No. Opposition came from Prosperity Party, Amhara Prosperity Party members, from some Nama members. Geddo Nergacho spoke, and some other politicians spoke too, who are mainly from Prosperity Party or from Nama, and they are Amharas. Almost all Oromo members of parliament backed state of emergency proclamation. They delivered speeches, some of them, and very fiery speeches. They criticized Fano. They backed Ethiopian National Defense Force. So we're seeing a clear divide here. I think there should be some voices from Oromia calling for dialogue to put an end to conflict in Amhara. It is mandatory for ethnic harmony in Ethiopia. It seems entire Oromia is united. No one is speaking, no one is condemning military operation, no one is calling for dialogue. Even that unity was missing when Tigray war broke out. Some groups in Oromia, they opposed military operation against Tigray back then. That is why I see this as a very alarming development. It will have far-reaching implications. Amhara Prosperity Party members, other Prosperity Party members, they are finding it difficult to go against the wishes of the people of their constituencies. They are being arrested. Christian Tadale arrested, Johannes Bujale arrested, then Kasa Teshagar of Addis Ababa City Council arrested. And some are so disgruntled that they regret that they started politics. I think one member of parliament spoke when state of emergency proclamation was tabled at the house, and he said that he regretted the day he entered politics. So this is the level of frustration of Amhara members of parliament, of Prosperity Party and other parties. And we're seeing a joint front formed by mostly by Tigrayans are not part of parliament. So basically two main groups are Oromos, Amharas, other groups as well at the parliament, but two main groups are Amharas and Oromos. Oromos seem to be united. They're backing the military operation. Amharas divided. But even this division is becoming widening. It is becoming difficult for Amhara Prosperity Party members to continue their support for the military operation in the Amhara. That is why we saw 28 people who either opposed the state of emergency or they abstained from voting. Yes, more than 332 supported the state of emergency proclamation. But where are they from? How many are from the Amhara region? Most of them are from other parts of Ethiopia. Almost entire Oromia, all Oromia members of parliament, they backed the resolution. Government will have to do something to ensure that this conflict in Amhara does not turn into ethnic conflict. Fano is trying to portray this conflict as an ethnic conflict. They say genocide of Amharas is being committed. Oromos want to rule Ethiopia alone. They don't want to see other ethnic groups. Tigrayans said the same too, by the way, a few months ago. They criticized both parties, Oromos, Amharas. Now, Tigrayans silent, watching all the developments like a silent spectator. Oromo, Amhara fight ongoing. This fight started, I did several videos if you remember, when Orthodox Church saw unprecedented splits earlier this year and a breakaway faction in Oromia emerged. Back then I said that that was the start of Oromo-Amhara rivalry for authority, for power in Ethiopia. We saw then several manifestations of that conflict for power between these two ethnic groups, because they believe now that Tigrayans have been sidelined and Tigrayans can only be junior partners. Oromos believe that this is their day. Now they are the ones who will rule. They have suffered a lot. Now this is their turn to be at the center. Amharas were hoping that after the demise of TPLF, they would be able to lead Ethiopia. So they are not obviously comfortable with growing Oromo elites' ambitions. That is why we're seeing the gulf between these two groups widen. And if the remaining Prosperity Party Amhara leaders decide to support Fano, or if they decide to distance themselves from Prosperity Party, you could see a bigger conflict in Ethiopia. PM Abiy's government has not done anything to ensure that this conflict does not turn into an ethnic conflict. This divide, which we saw at the parliament, is dangerous, because it will give Fano a point for propaganda. See, Fano fighters will definitely now say that, see, all Oromo Prosperity Party members are backing military operation. Amharas are under pressure. Some supported the resolution because they are under pressure. Some abstained from voting. Some spoke at the parliament, but they are under pressure. We can ignore them, but we cannot ignore the reaction, the response of Oromo Prosperity Party members to the military operation in Amhara. They are backing the military operation. Oromo ruling elite, people like Jawar, they should speak. Their opinion matters a lot. Silence means they are approving the military operation against Fano in Amhara region. They should speak. They can use diplomatic language, but they should speak and call for dialogue. They won't lose support in Oromia if they call for dialogue. Parties keep on issuing statements. Amharas live too in Oromia. Do you think all Amharas living in border areas, they back military operation against Fano? No. So, Oromo members of parliament, Oromo leaders won't lose support of their people if they call for dialogue. Amhara MPs condemned, some of them condemned military operation in the Amharian. Oromo members of parliament at least should call for dialogue. If they're not in a position to condemn the military operation, they shouldn't. At least they can call for discussions, they can call for dialogue, or they can share a roadmap. Because these leaders like Viragudina, Jawar, Bekele Garba, Daud Ibsa, Jalmaro, etc., these are national level leaders. Their reach is national. Yes, they are from Oromia, but they are national level leaders like Dabratsian, Gatacho, from Amhara we have Damake, Gadu under Gacho, and now Fano will have national consequence as well. So these national significance now. So it means that these Oromo members of parliament, Oromo politicians, should not distance themselves from the conflict in Amhara. They should speak like a politician, calling for dialogue, diplomacy, discussion and talk. That is the way forward. Otherwise, you will see that this conflict in Amhara can spill into neighboring regions. Then you will see them speak. It's time for them now to speak. They should now call for dialogue. Otherwise, you will see other regions affected by the conflict in Amhara too, if Fano fighters manage to repel military offensives launched by Ethiopian military. Thank you for watching.